Coming up, COVID-19 hits the governor's mansion. Mourning a justice, now a contentious fight to claim her seat. We look at the role our bi-state senators will play and the ripple effect on local races. Plus, is there any fix in sight?
When is it gonna stop?
A 1-year-old added to Kansas City's murder count.
It's a massacre. When the violence gonna stop?
Plus, KCI back in the spotlight. Will a shakeup at City Hall and threats of legal action disrupt work on our metro's largest and most high-profile construction project?
Week in Review is made possible through the generous support of Dave and Jamie Cummings, Bob and Marlise Gorley, Haas and Wilkerson Insurance, the Courtney S. Turner Charitable Trust, John H. Mize and Bank of America N.A. co-trustees, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Nick Haynes. Pretty much everything I told my guests we were going to talk about this week has changed in the last 24 hours in what has to be the most unpredictable week and in this unpredictable year in memory. Pivoting nimbly and rising to the challenge is 41 Action News investigative reporter Kat Reed. She's checking in with us on our Week in Review mega screen with Eric Wesson of The Call, Pete Mundo from KCMO Talk Radio, and Dave Helling of your Kansas City Star. Topping our look at the week's top local stories, the coronavirus hits the governor's mansion in a story now making national news. The Missouri governor and his wife test positive for COVID-19. Mike Parson has dropped out of the first and only scheduled debate and is canceling in-person events in quarantine. He says his wife has only mild symptoms and he has none. So what impact does a positive COVID test have on his ability, Kat Reed, to govern or on his election campaign?
Well, I think the optics of it, this is someone who, was seen in a lot of pictures, a lot of events, not wearing a mask. And so I think that there are democratic attacks on him now for those actions. So I think that that's the biggest impact to the campaign. And obviously, if you're COVID positive, you can't be out there greeting voters because you have to protect their health.
Pete Mundo, there's a lot of gloating, it seems, on social media with a lot of messaging saying, well, he downplayed the virus. See, this is what happens. Who's getting the laugh now? You see a lot of messages like that. But did he really downplay the virus, or did he simply say that the cure should not be more than the disease itself?
He's put the priority in the hands of local leaders like Quentin Lucas here in Kansas City to say, hey, if you want a mask mandate through 2021, he's not stopping you from doing that. Now, we do know early on, of course, he was not putting on the mask and whatnot. He has for the past couple of months. But to the political side of this, I actually think it hurts Nicole Galloway more because she's the one that needs debates, right? She's down in the polls. She needs to get on that debate stage against Mike Parson and prove herself. She can't now in that form, at least not on Friday like she was planning on. So I think she's the one that needs to get on the debate stage against Mike Parson more than he needs the debate stage, so that theoretically could hurt her campaign more.
Eric Wesson, this hurts his Democratic opponent more than the governor himself?
I think it gives his Democratic opponent a little more leverage and a little more ability to kind of highlight some points, especially when it comes to the virus and the impact that it's had on the community. And I guess some people would say that he kind of downplayed it a little bit. As Pete was saying, he let the local governments kind of dictate what they wanted to do, when instead of a lot of people wanted him to step up and shut the whole state down.
What are the implications, do you think, Dave Helling, for Mike Parson in his governorship and on this election campaign, which is now just a few weeks away from Election Day itself?
Well, let me agree with Pete. I do think Nicole Galloway is the candidate who could benefit more from debates or any debate in this race, because she is probably less known, obviously, than Governor Parson. So that's a problem for her. But anything that puts the spotlight back on COVID and the COVID response is presumably a problem for Mike Parson. He just started airing a TV ad in which every shot includes Mike Parson. Every shot he's in, he's wearing a mask. Now, that's not an accident. And there are all kinds of stories surfacing now about all the things that Mike Parson has said and done to downplay the virus. Now that the focus is back on that, that's a problem for him. And by the way, Nick, this week on KCUR, the governor said, hey, Kansas City is different from Carter County. That's why I haven't done a statewide mask mandate. Carter County's case rate over the last 14 days is much higher than Kansas City's. COVID has come to the rural areas of Missouri, and that too is going to be at least some concern for Governor Parson.
But he has certainly been wearing a mask in his public appearances as of late. For instance, he was in Kansas City for bill signing, and Kansas City, he abided by the mask mandate while he was here. So we have seen photos of him wearing one in public. He's
up, depending on the polls you look at, 5 to 10 plus points. I don't think this swings that the other way in any major way, shape, or form. And I still firmly believe that Nicole Galloway needs a debate or two to get that name ID up. And unfortunately, they don't have one on Friday. And that's why I see this actually, in a weird way, hurting her campaign.
No, this is happening, of course, as the first local ballots in the 2020 presidential election are actually being cast this week. Absentee balloting began Tuesday in the state of Missouri.
It's just been crazy. Beyond any other election, I've had more interest in this election than anything we've ever done before.
I just didn't want to wait until the last day and get caught up in, because we don't know what to expect. So, yeah, this was the safest thing for me.
I'm going to be able to actually get the ballot, mark my choice, and then put it in the machine. And I didn't want to mail it. I didn't want to wait.
To vote absentee in Missouri, you have to check off one of 7 excuses, from being away on Election Day to having contracted or being at high risk of catching COVID-19. In some cases, but not all, that requires an official signature from a notary to confirm your story. Kat Reed, you've been digging into that story this week. Is it all going well, or are some people still scratching their heads and are still confused?
I think there's still a lot of confusion out there because in a lot of states, absentee voting by mail and mail-in ballots, there's no distinction really made. But in Missouri, there is a distinction between a mail-in ballot and an absentee ballot submitted by mail. And all of these mail-in ballots have to be notarized, but all absentee ballots sent by mail do not need to be notarized if you meet one of these exemptions.
Why make it so complicated, Pete?
I don't know. I mean, I think some will say that Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft should be make this an easier process and a simpler process. And I understand that to an extent. But obviously, this is a fine line for every state and every Secretary of State, which is making sure your election is safe and secure while also giving people the most options during COVID-19.
Eric.
I had the Democratic representative Lori Elam on my show last week, and she said it's really kind of simple. People are making it difficult, but it said the instructions, and that's what people are having a problem with. They're not reading the directions. She's saying that people aren't even signing them. And it says clearly at the bottom, it must have your signature on it, and people aren't signing them. So it's more so of the voter not paying attention to what's on the application than it is how complex it is.
People, Dave Helling, are already going to the polls, as we know, then this week. But also we've heard that in polls that more than half of all Americans will vote before Election Day. What difference does that make to the way campaigns are being waged on both sides of our state line? Does it have make a difference?
It makes a huge difference, Nick. And this has been a trend in politics for many, many years, not just this year. Candidates now understand that A, they need to get their messages out more quickly. B, they need to target people who are likely to vote early. And so they need to understand sort of that subset of voters, if you will. And C, it can increase turnout. Now, you know, let's just be real about this. Kansas has what's called no excuse early voting, which means that on a given date, I think it's October 14th, starting on that day, you can just go in and cast a ballot. And you're done, and that's that, and you don't need an excuse, you don't need a notary, you just go in and vote. Missouri has resisted no excuse early voting for more than 15 years, in part because Republicans think that increases turnout, and they think they lose elections if more people vote.
This week, selecting a new Supreme Court justice has propelled itself to the #1 spot on the nation's political agenda. And while these events are taking place 1,000 miles away in Washington, D.C., it is our senators from Kansas and Missouri who will be as important as anyone in deciding who will succeed Ruth Bader Ginsburg on our country's highest court. Kansas has 2 United States senators. Missouri has another 2. Have Jerry Moran, Pat Roberts, Josh Hawley, and Roy Blunt made up their minds, Kat?
Yes, all have said that they are willing to vote on a nominee. Let's move forward with this process. Those who were in office back in 2016, when Merrick Garland's nomination was not considered, they say that this is different because the same party controls the White House and the Senate, unlike the situation in 2016. But that explanation is getting a lot of pushback on the national stage. There are a lot of people who are upset that this is moving forward when you see what happened back to Garland's nomination.
Since the last time the United States Senate was looking at a Supreme Court nomination, Pete Mundo, Josh Hawley, the Missouri senator, has been added to the Judiciary Committee. So he's going to get a major role in questioning who the eventual nominee will be. Is he going to be getting a major national profile as a result of this?
Some would argue he's already there, Nick. I think most people know that Josh Hawley does have presidential aspirations. That's not breaking any news. And there's no doubt that this is a moment for him to, at least based on his own brand, arguably shine. He's been very clear on the idea that he wants a justice that believes Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided. How big of a role that plays here is going to be very interesting because there's a pushback a little bit, it seems like, from some more quote-unquote establishment Republicans who are saying they don't want Hawley to make a big deal out of Roe leading up to an election day. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Hawley plays that and how much he may listen to some people saying, hey, let's not make this a huge deal right now.
Just a few days ago, Dave Helling, Josh Hawley was being added to the president's shortlist of potential Supreme Court picks. And then he says, no, thank you, Mr. President. I have absolutely no interest in that whatsoever. Why was that?
Because he's interested in a job much higher than a Supreme Court justice, which Pete just talked about. He wants to be president of the United States someday. He is in a bit of a dilemma here, though, Nick, because he said some weeks ago, not only he wants a justice who wants to overturn Roe v. Wade, but he said specifically, I will not vote to support a nominee who doesn't say explicitly that Roe v. Wade was wrongly decided. Well, once they get a nominee, and he's on the Judiciary Committee, and he or someone asks that question, if the nominee says, well, I have to wait and see the case, I don't know, then what does Josh Hawley do? He said, I need someone to explicitly reject it. So he may be a bit in a crack when the vote finally comes.
Does this have any ripple effects, Pete Mundo, on any of our other races that are around in Kansas or Missouri?
Well, I think it helps Roger Marshall, and you're seeing that play out. Marshall's suddenly, and he's been doing this since the debate last weekend, he's been making abortion a focus of this campaign, believing that it helps him in the state of Kansas, and it maybe highlights a major difference between himself and Barbara Bollier, who has really tried to bill herself as that moderate that can reach across the aisle here.
Yeah, and I'll also say it does have an impact on a race that already happened, which was Missouri expanding Medicaid. So people are looking at the Supreme Court for that reason as well.
One thing I don't like doing on this program is repeating the same topic over and over again when that story never seems to change. This week, a 1-year-old boy is shot to death as the car his family was traveling in was riddled with bullets. This did not take place, by the way, during the dead of night, but at 3 o'clock on a weekday afternoon.
Seems like almost every month we have a baby losing their life, and it gets younger and younger and younger. When is it going to stop?
We're coming after you, and we're going to get you.
How many more children do we have to bury? How many more hashtags do we have to have on social media?
It's a massacre. When the violence gonna stop?
Tyron Payton is the 148th homicide victim in Kansas City this year. Just for perspective, at this time last year, there were 114 homicides recorded. The mayor, the Jackson County prosecutor, and other political leaders all expressed their horror. But is there any new change being proposed to try and reverse what has been a bloody 2020 in Kansas City, Eric?
No. Some meetings. We had the FBI in here. That didn't seem to help. I haven't heard of anything, and this is just the same old script just being played over and over again, like you said. What is the plan? Is there a plan? If it is, what is it? Let us start knowing what that plan is and doing something about it. We just got a bad culture in the Black community right now. It's the culture within the culture that says it's okay to stand out in the middle of a street in broad daylight and pump 21, 22 rounds into a car and walk away. And here we are 3 days later and nobody said anything. I think the police are saying they got one tip on the whole thing.
And it's happening, Pete Mundo, in the same week that the nearly or just more than 200 federal agents and investigators who came into town as part of Operation Legend to try and clean up the prosecution of crimes and to look at this have now left town. Was that always the plan, or are they moving out early to go to other cities?
No, that was always the plan. And Tim Garrison, the Western Missouri District Attorney, made that clear that this was the plan. This was how it was going to play out. They made 350 plus arrests, 147 folks charged for violent crimes, firearms related offenses. It's hard to not call it a massive success, but obviously there are still problems that go well beyond Operation Legend.
To claim it was a massive success is really not accurate.
33 homicide suspects arrested as part of the operation. That's not success, Dave?
No, because the murder rate in Kansas City did not go down. The whole point was it was named for Legend Taliaferro, a 4-year-old who was shot dead. And the whole point, at least as far as the public is concerned, is reducing the murder rate. It did not go down. The murder rate during the Operation Legend time period was higher than it was in all of last year and all of the year before that and all of the year up to that date.
Because crime has been rising all across the country in major cities, Eric Wesson, Mayor Quinton Lucas has had a pass so far on this. Has that patience now worn thin?
I think the patience is worn thin with him, with some of the civil rights groups, SCLC, the Urban League, and maybe the NAACP, to the extent that he hasn't been more vocal or outspoken on the board as far as the chief is concerned. But I just wanted to back up with one thing. I think to mention the operation and the term successful in any sense, huge success, great success, I think is a misconception. They arrested 147 people. And my discussion with the prosecutor's office while this was going on is there was people that they were going to arrest anyway. There were no new people that were committing new crimes that was going to be arrested. And in Baby Legend's case, that case wasn't solved by the FBI. It was solved by another defense lawyer who happened to work with the person that saw the thing and was driving the car and turned the person in. So I'm not going to say it was a success by any means of the imagination.
Do I get to defend myself here or not?
Pete, you get to defend yourself.
I mean, you give me a shot here, Nick, or are we just going to move on?
We're ready for you.
All right. So all I'm saying is you had, as I noted, and everyone's agreed on the stats, 350 plus arrests, 147 charges, homicides, drugs, and firearms. That's a success. And I'm sorry, I'm not buying the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office defense that this is all somehow going to happen no matter what. Civil liberties were protected. Arrests were made. Hopefully bad people are off the streets. And that's a success.
We've lost Dave Helling for a moment. We'll bring him back in just a second. The new KCI terminal project is back in the headlines this week. And for all the wrong reasons, a federal complaint has now been launched over the city's contract bidding process. And the mayor now has removed the chair of the key committee that oversees the nearly $2 billion project. Lucas has replaced Councilwoman Teresa Law with himself. The move comes just days after members of the committee waged a boycott and refused to attend any more meetings with her. It was claimed it was because of racist remarks, but others pushed back, saying it had more to do with wanting Law gone so they could steer contracts. Which is it, Kat Reed?
Well, those who boycotted the meeting say it is about the racist remarks, as well as some other emails that she had sent regarding contractors and the new terminal. And they said that they were upset with her interrupting other members as they were speaking. She still maintains that this has everything to do with the contracts and her concerns specifically that she had about the Idacare rebid and the money, that bid being kind of overturned. So I just don't think we're going to see a resolution to this for a little bit. The FAA does have the complaints from the contractors and they will review them, but we don't really know what will happen. Teresa Law has expressed some concerns that potentially while they're investigating, federal funds could be withheld. So that's her big worry.
Now, Eric Wesson, you were on this program, I think it was even last week, mentioning this and saying it was racial remarks that Teresa Law made. But I was just going through my notes, and 3 years ago, Teresa Law was actually getting an award, the Rosa Parks Spirit Award 3 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know who would have given it to her because she has had some issues in the past, but that's neither here nor there. I think it's what's going on now is what's relevant.
Now, most members of the public, though, are not going to care about the nitty-gritty details of what happens at City Hall on this. Their biggest concern is this airport going to cost more money as a result of this? Is the airport going to be delayed? Is it going to halt construction, Pete Mundo, or change the timeline for when it opens in 2023?
Well, right now they're saying no on the timeline change. Remember, there's that tight window there, about 2 months between when this is supposed to be wrapped up and when the NFL draft comes to town. So there's not much wiggle room. And I think that's why you saw Quinton Lucas take over temporarily this week as the chairperson for the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, because there can't be a lot of lag time here. There can't be a lot of stalling. Well, I think it was a bit of a mistake to basically let the inmates run the asylum. I understand that you've got to keep this thing moving forward. And Teresa Lohr is expected to get her chairpersonship back for Transportation and Infrastructure. We'll see how long that takes.
You know, I should say this saga was playing out, by the way, as the mayor and the city council were interviewing the finalists for what some say is the most powerful person in city government, the city manager. The job has been in interim leadership since Troy Schulte resigned in December. There are 4 candidates, all of them from outside of Kansas City. What are we learning about them? And was there no one from here qualified for the job, Eric?
I don't believe that the mayor wanted anybody from here. I think people are saying that they were discouraged to applying. The first candidate came in this week. He spoke. He wasn't overly impressive. So let's see what the next 3 candidates come up with. But it's my understanding the mayor wanted somebody from outside of Kansas City, which I don't agree with that. I think there should be somebody in-house that knows Kansas City, knows the issues, rather than bringing somebody in from outside to try to figure it out.
A really tough time to come in that position, Kat Reed, at a time when also they're talking about another $60 million of cuts in services and programs because of COVID-19 and less tax money coming in.
That will absolutely be the biggest challenge for the city manager coming in, is the financial situation that we are grappling with, that cities across the country are grappling with. And yeah, that person is going to have a pretty tricky job, and it's not a glorious job. It's late nights, you know, behind closed doors, crunching numbers. And I think that it is going to be a massive burden.
Is that the biggest challenge for a new city manager coming in, which Mayor Lucas wants to see on the job in January, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is going to be very tricky in a city government that is heavily based on the city manager and the competency of that city manager, right? So that makes this a huge hire for the city. I think most people are upset it took this long. Frankly, you know, we're going to be a year plus by the time we've replaced Troy Schulte in the middle of what has been an incredibly difficult year. That being said, you got to get this hire right. I see the benefits of having somebody from in-house. I see the benefits of having a new set of eyes on a city that you don't know without connections and ties. So let's just cross our fingers they get the right call here.
And we've crossed our fingers, and Dave Helling came back. But on that city manager search, was there anything we learned from those candidates this week that we didn't know before that gives us hope for the future of the city, Dave?
Well, we need a city manager. There's no question in Kansas City, Nick. I apologize. They cut off the power to my house, so maybe they were angry about something.
It was something you said earlier, yes.
No, I don't know.
That was me.
Yeah, that was Pete. He's got the plug right there. No, I do think that there's been some discussion, which perhaps has been had here, that some of the candidates were less than impressive, and there's some concern that they didn't have a better tier of candidates coming forward. And I think that is a problem. Being a city manager is tough under any circumstance. In this circumstance, it's going to be very difficult.
When you put a program like this together every week, you can't get to every local story making the headlines. What was the big story we missed? Will the Kansas City Chiefs announce new game day protocols after 10 fans are asked to quarantine? Health officials say a fan slipped into a box seat at Arrowhead without going through safety screenings. He tested positive for COVID-19 the next day. Tightened security expected this weekend at the haunted houses after gunfire on opening night injures 2 people. There's protests in the Blue Valley School District over quarantine orders.
These kids are more at risk not being educated than they are being in school.
Meanwhile, the Star reporting that a number of Missouri districts are letting exposed students skip quarantine and head back to class. It's National Small Business Week, but not much to celebrate here as hundreds of metro restaurants, bars and retail stores shut up shop for good. Time magazine is out with its 100 most influential people in the world list. And guess who's on it? And is this the last we've seen of those fake fans, the Royals ending their season Sunday with a home game against Detroit? Did you pick one of those stories, Kat Reed, or something completely different?
I am going to go ahead and pick the small businesses because we have something around the corner that some of these cooler temperatures have reminded me of, which is that winter is coming. And it is going to be extraordinarily difficult for businesses, restaurants to continue the success that they've had with outdoor dining. You know, you'll see people a rush on the outdoor heaters and things, but I think it's a major concern how they can sustain business if they want people to dine in rather than just take out once it gets cold.
Eric Wesson.
I had two. Where are those stimulus checks? When are we going to process those? Us parents that have kids at home.
You didn't get yours?
No, I haven't gotten mine. I think it was that, and where those at. And number two, Rosemary Lowe passed this week. She was one of the founding members of Freedom Incorporated, a pioneer in the Black community, highly respected, and her passing is going to leave yet another void in the Black community.
Dave Helling.
Rosemary was amazing, by the way. In about 6 weeks, Nick, we will celebrate the second anniversary in Missouri of passing medical marijuana availability. Try and buy it somewhere. You still can't 2 years later. I'm writing about this. It just leads to cynicism about government that it's taken this long.
And Pete Mundo.
Well, it's been a heavier show, so I'm going on the lighter side. Patrick Mahomes making that Time magazine list. All the money can be spent in the world by Kansas City tourism and regional tourism departments. You can't pay for the type of publicity Patrick Mahomes can bring to Kansas City over the next 10 to 15 years, and it's going to be impressive to watch.
And on that note, we will say our week has been reviewed. Checking in with us on the Week in Review mega screen, Kat Reed from 41 Action News. The Calls, Eric Wesson, the Stars, Dave Helling, and 6 to 10 weekdays on KCMO Talk Radio, Pete Mundo. And I'm Nick Haynes. From all of us here at Kansas City PBS, keep calm and carry on.